This is NBS Live at 9 with Rukushana Namuyimba.
Good evening. Welcome to NBS Live at 9. I'm Rukshana Namuyimba Chitaka and Michael Jago is joining me as always for Sign Language. We'll get right into the broadcast with a look at our top stories tonight.
The headlines brought to you by...
Now available in the new look of the Radiant Hair Relaxer with herbal extracts and no base formula. Radiant. Look good. Feel great.
This ADF planted a bomb in a church.
Security tightened along the Uganda-DRC border following an explosion in a church in North Kivu province that left several dead.
Nothing would happen to our side. We are able manning our borders.
Politics of crossovers starts ahead of the 2026 general elections as National Unity Platform recruits dozens from the FDC.
Let them recruit as I recruit.
Also tonight, fear of a possible extinction of Lake Katwe's human activities threaten salt production.
We have no future for this lake.
And we also tell you about the abandoned projects in Tororo where the Uganda government sunk millions of taxpayers' money.
The contractor locked the building after the installation of the machine and disappeared.
The headlines brought to you by...
Now available in the new look of the Radiant Hair Relaxer with herbal extracts and no base formula. Radiant. Look good. Feel great. Coming up a little later on, as opposition politicians poach from within their circles, we speak to political researcher Dr. Patrick Wakida on what this means for the opposition ahead of the 2026 general election. Now into a top story tonight, security in Kasese has urged residents in the district, particularly those at Mpondwe border, to remain calm despite reports of a blast in Kasindi about 4 kilometers into Congo from the border that left 7 people dead and over 40 injured. According to the Kasese Resident District Commissioner, Lieutenant Joe Walusimbi, security has been heightened at the border to ensure repulsion of any attempted attack. We have the details.
At least 7 people are reported to have been killed and scores injured in a suspected suicide bomb blast in an attack on Sepak Pentecostal Church in Mwangaza village, Ruberia town in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Reports indicate that 4 adults and 3 juveniles died on the spot and over 40 other victims were injured. The RDC Kasese, Lieutenant Joe Walusimbi, confirmed the reports and quickly assured the residents of tight security.
As true today, we have received an information that across nearby in Kasindi, near our borders, this ADF planted a bomb in a church. And 7 are confirmed dead and 40 are seriously injured. Yes, Ugandans may panic or what they have to, but I just tell them, give them hard words of hope that nothing will happen to our side. We are able manning our borders and we have been on standby and even manning those porous borders.
Suspect to have been an IED, improvised explosive device, that went off.
Being a stone throw distance from Uganda, there was worry that Ugandans could have been in the same church. But Lieutenant Walusimbi says no Ugandan has been involved in the attack.
I mean, what we thought that maybe as Kasese and DRC, we have brothers in the DRC and DRC has brothers in this place. We're suspecting that maybe there are some other Ugandans who went to enforce their colleagues in the other church. But according to what I've gathered so far, maybe, but it seems that no Ugandan was in that church.
Reports say that the past few days, security in Kasese intercepted 2 suspected ADF rebels and have been picking bullets suspected to be rebel items.
Increase our intelligence at the border, like we've always done. We are working with the people. We call upon all Wananchi to give us any information that they have regarding people they don't know in the area, because we suspect this is the system they are turning to, which they used previously.
The DRC's communication ministry said on social media that the attack was apparently carried out by Allied Democratic Forces ADF group. The ADF, which the Islamic State group claims as its affiliate in Central Africa, is active in the Kasindi area.
they ran into disarray. So they are trying to show the world that they still exist and possibly make a case to possibly their funders that they still exist so that they could attract more funding.
It has been accused of slaughtering thousands of Congolese civilians and carrying out bomb attacks in Uganda. Since 2021, a joint Congolese-Ugandan military operation has been targeting the ADF in North Kivu and the neighboring Ituri province. Over 120 armed groups roam the mineral-rich eastern DRC, many of which are the legacy of regional wars that flared at the turn of the 21st century. Alex Mogasha, Fahad Masereka, NBS, Live at 9.
Now, a section of farmers in Tororo are asking the government to task contractors who were awarded a contract to construct and install agro-processing facilities under the Community Agriculture Infrastructure Improvement Program in the district to refund the money paid for the job. The farmers allege that most of the contractors abandoned the projects in the bush before handing them over to the beneficiaries. We have that report.
These are the two structures that were constructed under the Community Agriculture Infrastructure Improvement Program in Marikit Town Council in Tororo District in 2012-2013 financial year. The agro-processing facilities were meant to enable farmers to add value to their rice and maize produce to improve their incomes. But despite the heavy investment, to a tune of over 600 million shillings, the facilities have since been abandoned in the bush. This is in addition to the vandalism of some key parts of the machine. The local leaders fault the contractor, whom they accuse of failing to officially hand over the facility to beneficiaries.
After the construction, they came and installed the machines. Now the machines were installed, then they were supposed to have the power connected to the building, and which was done, the wiring was done from the main road up to where the machines were constructed. But later on, the contractor locked the building after the installation of the machine and disappeared.
So those ones who are thieves came in to steal other projects, other machines. So they have also seen that the project is not benefiting them.
A similar project in Katarajura sub-county, still in Tororo district, where the Africa Development Bank funded project that cost over 400 million shillings was also abandoned. The installed agro-processing machines too were stolen in just months after the contractors equally abandoning the site before handing over.
They came at night around 8 p.m. with their car, and in the morning we found when things have gone.
Local leaders suspect that the contractors could be behind the vandalism.
My community are not thieves, you see. So now they just felt that now in Mirikiti we did nothing, and that there are certain machines that we had put there which are fake. Let's go and remove them. I don't see any reason as to why this community would really go for those other things there.
To the thousands of beneficiaries who had hope of improving livelihoods, they have incurred huge losses.
Being rice growers, we're really disappointed. We no longer now, we are being squeezed by the middlemen.
Could even create jobs for the community members, which has not been done.
Because it's now 10 years since these projects were implemented, hope is not lost for the farmers. They're now demanding that the contractors be tasked to fix the maize and later hand over the projects.
We request all the authorities concerned to see that the project should benefit us.
The district leaders say that plans are underway to revive the project.
Something was lacking in regards to maintenance and operation, because when you look at some of these projects, some of them are down because there was no sustainability in regards to maintenance and operation. We are organizing an engagement with the district leadership to see that how do we revive some of these projects.
Out of the 6 agro-processing facilities funded in the district to a tune of over 2 billion shillings, only one is functional. Shamim Nabakoza, David Ocheng, NBS, Live at 9.
Now, there is fear of a likely extinction of Lake Katwe in Kasese district following a series of human activities that are currently taking place around the lake. Cultivation of crops like cotton on the steep slopes of the hills has left the land bare, fueling floods submerging more than 80% of the salt pans. This has meant low production of salt, which is negatively impacting the lives of the miners. We have the details in this report.
Katwe Kabatoro Town Council has a population of more than 15,000 people whose livelihoods mainly depend on fishing and salt mining. But there's a twist in the event, as a section of the population has moved to small-scale farming on the periphery of the lake. This activity is feared may lead to early extinction of the salt business should it continue to be carried out.
We think that if these human activities continue being done on this lake, then we have no future for this lake. And over 5,000 people who are employed on this lake, they will be jobless.
Because actually the water, the volume of the water which comes, it has increased because there are no things to stop the water. So erosion, actually the soil that enters into the lake directly.
The salt ponds are currently submerged with floods resulting from recurring rains. The runoff is said to be fueled by the bare hills tilted for cultivation, allowing smooth flow of the runoff.
Whenever they tilt the land and the land is completely bare without vegetation, so during the rain season, those sediments are washed within the lake. They will cause within the lake some silt and erosion, and that kind of sediments, they will block the vents that bring in salt water from underneath inside the lake.
Salt miners are now finding it difficult to pump up the excess water from the lake, hence low salt production.
The only measure would be that they could get a very big water pump, and we don't have where to put this water because it is too much. And we don't have that capacity to buy that water pump which can at least remove this water because it is too much.
But Twinomu Junior Bell, the district councillor representing the people of Katwe Kabatoro, says the current farming activities on the periphery of the lake are not necessarily the major cause of the floods being experienced.
Now people associate this, what is happening now, the floods that we have now, with the current farming activity, especially crop production that is taking place. Now they associate it, but there is no scientific proof that this crop farming has purely affected the lake.
Regardless, there's a call for collective efforts to find lasting solutions to the problem at the salt lake.
We have to work together, the salt miners, the local government, the central government, to see how best we can save the lake.
Kananura John Bosco, the mayor of Katwe Kabatoro Town, says measures to mitigate the challenge are being implemented, ranging from terracing to cultivation of the buffer zone.
Of course, we do fishing, we also do salting, so that periphery is also used to cultivate, but we mitigate siltation of the lake by having identified that buffer. So we don't allow people to go beyond that line, encroaching on the shoreline of the salt lake. Then we're also encouraging our people to do terracing, which they have not been practicing.
The ongoing crisis at the lake is impacting heavily on the revenue base of the town council.
There has been rains in Katwe for close to a year now, which is giving us bad time because the people don't have the incomes. That means even us as the local government, we even don't have the taxes.
Initially, Kato Salt Lake would produce above 250,000 tons of pure salt and more than 300,000 tons of rock salt annually. Currently, production has reduced to as low as 400 tons. Whether or not production will come back to normal is heavily dependent on how the lake is treated by the surrounding. Olivia Nakalembe, Fahad Maserka, NBS, Live at 9.
For Matters Environment, we now turn to politics. The opposition National Unity Platform has defied the spirit of the United Forces for Change and poached from fellow opposition party Forum for Democratic Change. Now, NUP has unveiled FDC Secretary for Labour and a National Executive Committee member, Habib Buwembo, who joined along with 47 other FDC members. Buwembo claims lack of transparency and accountability within the FDC prompted his exit.
On Sunday afternoon, the National Unity Platform headquarters in Kampala was filled up with supporters from across the city who thronged the party offices in Kamocha, a Kampala suburb, to warmly receive supporters from the opposition FDC who defected to NUP. The 47 FDC defectors, led by Habib Buembo, crossed to NUP, first dressed in NUP t-shirt and the red beret, and later unveiled by the NUP National Coordinator, Nyanzi Fred Sentamu. Habib Buembo, who formerly served as FDC NEC member and Secretary for Labour, claims lack of transparency and accountability fueled his exit and several others.
What is our number that we computed? Do we have all the DR forms corrected? Did we have the Tare Center to compute the votes from EU agents, maybe from the DR forms that they have presented? Those are issues. Also issues to do with funds.
Habib came with 47 others who among them claims to be a personal bodyguard to the FDC president, Patrick Oboy Amuriat. They claim to have found solace in NUP.
I trust with the word of my president says. So right now, if I've been changing from FDC to NUP, I think I can follow all rules and regulation in NUP.
Ye Honorable Bibu Buembo, wenzikiririzamu era bangamba tigenda wano ngenda.
With the FDC and NUP working together under the spirit of the United Forces for Change, the new development appears as a friction or competition within the opposition themselves, a view the NUP National Coordinator is quick to refute.
Every force must be strong. Let them recruit as I recruit. Let all other forces of change. I want to see my friend, my old brother, Kenny Luchamus recruiting people in the CP. I want to see all those, political parties, recruiting Ugandans into their structure so that when we meet, we are strong.
Nyanzi is optimistic the new recruits will positively add to the already existing NUP structures.
We are adding on and adding on. The enthusiasm is high. People are in the Kunga structures. Kunga means mobilization.
However, efforts to get a comment from the FDC were futile as some senior party officials declined to comment on the matter, while others, including the party Secretary General, could not be reached on phone. In November 2021, the former Busongora South Member of Parliament in Kasese District, Jackson Baju Kathika, joined the National Unity Platform, NUP. Richard Olwain, NBS, live at 9.
Now, the politics of crossovers seems to be starting ahead of the 2026 general elections. While it's normally the opposition supporters switching over to the ruling National Resistance Movement, this time it's crossovers from the Forum for Democratic Change to the National Unity Platform. Now, to speak more on the aspect of the opposition recruiting from within the opposition, we're joined by political researcher Dr. Patrick Wakida. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Now, we are accustomed to seeing the NRM recruit from the opposition to grow its political support. But the opposition has also on a number of occasions recruited from within. What does this mean for the opposition in terms of growing its political support to win elective politics?
Good evening, Roxana. The freedom to belong to a political party is a freedom for everybody, that you can actually be today an NRM and tomorrow you can go to whatever party you want. That is a democratic right, and everybody can practice that. In Uganda, the challenge is that since 1986, the ideologies of parties were murdered, and the people who pretend to belong to political parties, actually they do not belong to political parties. So you have individual merit in this country, and then personal interests. People do not necessarily belong to political parties. And I do not think that there is a political party in this country, because political parties must have an ideology. You ask most of those guys, where do they belong? Recruitment from these political parties is a practice that is based on the fact that people are looking for opportunities. So you have people looking for a popular position, and with the growth of popularist politics, individuals are looking for those groupings that are popular. And everybody knows in this country that there has been an increasing growth of a grouping of NUP, which I don't want to call it a political party because until today I don't know what's the ideology. I also don't want to call the NRM a political party. I will define them as a grouping of people. And the people, therefore, will cross. You remember towards an election in 2021, you had an influx of people crossing from DP, to NUP. It's not that they belong to NUP, but that NUP offers them an opportunity to win an elective position. And that is what you're seeing. We should abandon the concept of political parties because they are not there in this country. What we have is ideally what you see an individual merit kind of thing, clinging on populist politics.
Dr. Wakida, is that what we're seeing, in my own words, is basically opportunists just looking for where they're likely to succeed in elective politics. But where does that then leave the electorate who actually think that these people belong to parties?
First of all, the electorate don't know what they want. In a democracy, I was lucky I lived in countries where there is democracy. People vote on issues. In this country, voters do not and have never voted on issues. In fact, voters go to vote because they want to vote a person, either a relative, they want to change a person because they want another person to eat, they want to vote a person because he has given them something. Now, that class of voters cannot even blame those who cross because they themselves have no idea about election. So we have a population that's completely devoid of politics. Election, democracy is targeted. It's built. Unfortunately, this country of mine, which I call my country, where I belong, we have not deliberately developed democracy. And an attempt to say we are having an election, and I have said this before, we are better off without an election because elections mean nothing in this country. Elections is a time of decision. So if you say, where do these people cross? Society produces its own product. Those who vote don't know why they vote. Those who have voted have no idea why they have been voted. In fact, you will find that most of those MPs there, if you ask them, what did you come to do? If you were to use a brain thermometer, I think the first answer would be, I wanted to get some money. Not really to represent those who voted them. So when you start to blame the voters or those who have voted, then you first start by understanding what is it, what kind of politics do we play in this country. So we have a long way to go. That's why after an election, you hear people talking about election. You've just come out of an election 1 year ago. You spend all your time in politics.
If I were to interject, Dr. Wakida, very, very quickly, so how do we fix this rather hopeless situation that you've painted? How do we fix this?
It's going to take long. It's, first of all, we used to, in school we had civic education. Do you still have it? You don't have it. Do voters know why they go to vote? They don't know. How many times do you hear of civic education or elective during election where you have the Electoral Commission deliberately going out to teach people why they are supposed to vote? It's deliberate. So democracy in this country is still a long way, and we are going to live like that. Ignorant voters and also ignorant elected people. They don't know why they were elected. The voters don't know why they go to vote.
Patrick Wakida, thank you so much for joining us tonight and for sharing your insights. Now, legal experts have called out the Uganda Law Reform Commission for the prevalence of outdated and irrelevant laws that are not aligned with the changing trends in society. As a result, the public has sometimes turned to the Constitutional Court. But according to the Uganda Law Reform Commission, up to 90 laws are awaiting elimination in the bill that is already before the Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs. We have the details.
As the current societal trends change due to factors like modernity, inflation, family setup and the land tenure systems, some changes seem to render most laws enshrined in the Penal Code Act and the legal books unfair and irrelevant. According to some lawyers, society is dissatisfied by the minimal contribution done by the Uganda Law Reform Commission as far as reshaping some of these laws is concerned.
So the Law Reform Commission should know what laws are coming out, which ones are necessary, which ones are not necessary, what needs to be done to bring, which court cases have been decided, and what does the decision of court mean for some of these laws that have been prior passed.
The Law Reform Commission is supposed to be reviewing annually. Actually, they make reports. If they find there is a section in the Penal Code or in any other law that is not relevant, then they should seek either for amendment or they introduce a section that is applicable in the current what?
Counsel Christopher Kajara notes that there are some sections in the Penal Code Act which were annulled by the Constitutional Court, but the law books still consider them as relevant.
I want to start with section 154, which is about adultery.
He cites section 154, clause 1 of the Penal Code, which penalizes 200 shillings or 12 months jail for any man that has sexual intercourse with any married woman not being his wife. He also points out section 154, clause 2, which prescribes court warning on the first conviction and 6 months imprisonment to any woman caught having sex with a man who is another woman's husband. Section 302 of the Penal Code Act also prescribes criminal trespass with maximum 1 year imprisonment sentence. Section 179 of the Penal Code Act on defamation prescribes full compensation to the offended and warning to the offender, amongst others.
What is the penalty for assault? Because you see, the law has not yet understood that boys can be raped or sexually abused. So what is the penalty for indecent assault for a minor boy?
We have seen it on several occasions. Someone has been staying on his land for even more than 30 years, but he's being prosecuted for criminal trespass. So I find that section still not be very relevant with the current what? With the current situation.
The lawyers further point finger at the Uganda Law Reform Commission to have left their role to the petitioners and the Constitutional Court accusations that Esther Majembere Musoke, the Commissioner Law Revision, Uganda Law Reform Commission, disagrees with.
The mandate of Uganda Law Reform Commission and that of the Constitutional Court are different. And so it is not true that we have left our own mandate to the Constitutional Court. What the Constitutional Court does, it interprets provisions which are brought before it by petitioners. And where it declares any provision unconstitutional, it ceases to be law. And what the Commission does at this stage is to identify all these laws that the Constitutional Court has declared unconstitutional, and some of them are omitted by the Commission during the revision exercise, and others, amendments are proposed, which have to go back to Parliament to be passed by Parliament. That is according to the law.
According to Majembere, the Uganda Law Reform Commission is on course with their mandate, and up to 90 laws are awaiting scrapping off through the Law Revision Miscellaneous Bill 2022, which is already in the hands of the Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs. Olivia Nakalembe, Adam Nuamanya, NBS Live at 9.
NBS Live at 9 takes a break and returns with so much more.
More to come, brought to you by Make Your Building a Paradise. We have weather coat emulsion, undercoat emulsion, silk vinyl emulsion, flat emulsion, super gloss and high gloss. Global Paint, a reliable product.
Coming up, the Uganda National Teachers Union urges government to increase the capitation grant as a measure to curtail the unnecessary school requirements.
And follow it up to make sure it is being done.
More to come, brought to you by Make Your Building a Paradise. We have weather coat emulsion, undercoat emulsion, silk vinyl emulsion, flat